Basketball season is upon us. Will Montana State and Eastern Washington defend their tournament titles, or will we crown a new champion? The road to Boise begins now. Welcome to Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. Hello and welcome to Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Our featured team for today's episode is Sacramento State. The men got a kickstart on their season when they took a trip down under this summer. While there, they visited several cities, saw the sights, and of course, played some exhibition games. It was a special trip for first-year head coach Michael Zeppel, as he got to take the Hornets to his hometown of Melbourne, Australia. I'd like to welcome Coach Zeppel and forward Jacob Holt into the show now. Coach, you've been a part of this program for a couple of years now. However, this season's a little different as you enter it as the head coach. How are you feeling entering 2024?
A little different, but still familiar. Obviously, a lot of the guys on the team from the previous couple of years been here and they're going to my third season in Sacramento. So familiar with campus, familiar with the administration, familiar with the city, and now this is home for us. So excited for a change in role, but excited to have a go as the head coach this year.
Coach, I read that you were actually a journalism major in college. How did you go from journalism to coaching basketball?
That's a good question. I actually went from pre-med to journalism, so that's probably a bigger, weirder jump than journalism to basketball. I was at Nicholls State and in high school had an interest in the sciences and the maths, and then like a lot of student athletes, 2.5 years, 3 years in, needed a change of scene and jumped into journalism. Really enjoyed it. Had a great degree program, great classmates and professors and instructors. What I do know is that the journalism degree has certainly helped with my public speaking, my written, now emailing, now writing pictures and reports. So I'm actually fortunate that I ended up as a graduate in journalism.
Jacob, your team had an awesome opportunity this summer to travel to Australia and play in some exhibition games. What was your favorite part of that trip?
I think playing as a team first. We had a lot of new guys, a lot of returners, and a lot of us had a chance to mesh with each other. We went to some great cities like the Gold Coast, Melbourne, Sydney, and we had some fun off the court as well. So that was a good bonding experience for sure.
Coach, that trip was extra special to you as you are from Melbourne, Australia. What was that experience like to take your team to your home country and your home city?
Yeah, it was great, and great for the Australians on the team too, to be able to show off their country. They got a lot of pride in the different cities, in the heritage, in the culture. Every city's a little different, known for a different thing. Gold Coast is beautiful. Sydney's like a world landmark, and Melbourne's culture and sports capital of the world. So for the team to experience a little bit of each different city and the culture and play some games and train around it, it was a great experience and something that honestly not everyone will probably have the chance to do again.
What was the best thing you ate down under?
I don't know. All I know is that the chocolate Tim Tams, top tier chocolate. It's kind of like Canada. We have kind of the same things, but definitely chocolate was really good.
Coach, what's the one thing you wanted your players to eat or see when you were down in Australia?
Well, the wildlife is definitely the thing that a lot of people that haven't been to Australia can connect with, because you just see the koalas or the kangaroos on TV. So to be able to go and see one and get a photo with one is really unique. We actually spent an evening discovering the Australian Indigenous heritage. And that was a really special evening for Australians like myself, but also for the team, to really get an understanding of our young country, where it came from, the elders and their influence and impact on our country today. So the evening we spent up in Queensland, just north of the Gold Coast, was really special, and it was a great experience for our guys.
Jacob, coach is talking about experiencing that Australian culture. You guys have a lot of different cultures in
Yep.
that Sac State locker room, including yourself. You are not from the United States. What's it like having such a diverse roster?
I think it's good. I think we get to know about each other, and I think everyone brings a different version of basketball from different countries and stuff like that. And then, but they're all great guys. They've done a great job bringing in great guys, great people, and we mesh really well. So that's another big thing is that we get when you get a bunch of international and some Americans, you find common ground over things, and it creates a good friendship for sure.
After the break, hear from the Sacramento State women's team.
In the heart of Montana's untamed wilderness, a legend is brewing. Jeremiah Johnson Brewing, the official beer of the Big Sky Conference. Brewed with the rugged spirit of the West. Jeremiah Johnson is simply a world-class, straightforward, no-nonsense beer. Do well.
Welcome back to Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Head coach Aaron Koloff is entering his second season at the helm for the Hornets. He joins me now with guard Bente Versteeg. Coach, I will start with you. It's your second season at Sac State. What were some of the biggest lessons you learned in season one that you hope to build on in season two?
Well, I think the biggest one is the Big Sky and just the coaching and the talent level in it is good across the table. There's no off nights. You got to be prepared to play every day, but also the need to go get people that can compete in this league, on our roster. And so it was good. A lot of great coaches, a lot of great players, and good atmospheres too.
Bente, coach is talking about the atmosphere and the competition in the Big Sky. You are originally from the Netherlands. What drew you to Sacramento State in the first place?
So it was always a dream for me to go to college basketball and play Division I basketball. And in the Netherlands, basketball is not that big. Even the audience, we don't have a lot of audience when we were playing basketball. And just, it was such a big dream to go to the States. And when I heard Sacramento offered me, that was I felt a connection. I wanted to go, and I just thought it was so awesome.
Now, coach, you didn't recruit Bente, but recruiting is one of your stronger suits when it comes to the overall coaching package. Why do you think you're such an effective recruiter?
I think it's about connection and being able to communicate and relate. I think over the time too, your best recruits are your former players, and so I'm starting to get. I've been in it long enough now that I've got nieces, nephews, kids of former players that are wanting to come play.
Bente, coach is talking about connection and being able to relate. You are one of several international players on that Sac State roster. How does having such a melting pot in the locker room help you adjust to life in the United States?
It helps the understanding of we're far away from home, so everybody is here, and family is very important. So we make our own family as a team, and I think that atmosphere as a team is helping us as internationals a lot, being so far away from home, but also just making that connection with each other.
Coach, we talked about your strengths in recruiting. You're also a mentor to a lot of people. You've mentored 5 players that have gone on to the WNBA. What do you think are the qualities that make you a good mentor to basketball players?
My goal for each kid that I've coached, whether it be when I was an assistant or a head coach, is to help them be a strong, independent female when they leave me coaching them, leave their playing days, because at some point their playing days are going to finish and the ball's going to stop bouncing, and I want them to be confident in their future. I think that's a big thing, and that's one thing I constantly talk about in the recruiting process is the ability to make this a lifelong relationship.
Bente, what about you? What do you think are the qualities that make Coach Koloff a good mentor to his players?
I think because of him, I got a lot of confidence in basketball. And I know in basketball, to make a mistake is very crucial. So if you make a mistake, it can be leading to another team score. But he helped me a lot in basketball IQ. He helped me a lot in being how I am today, in my confidence, and being able to provide for my team.
One of the things, Benta, that you did provide last season was a lot of assists. You led the Big Sky in assists and assists per game in the 2023 season. What will it take for you to have a repeat performance in 2024?
I think I need to be more consistent and have less turnovers and high assists. And I think because our team is have a lot of good players, and we have a lot of players that can shoot, we are built, and I think that will help me even more, like getting them open for assists, or like when I pass that I'm confident with them making the ball and making the basket. So that will help me a lot.
Coming up, Coulter Nuanez and Krista Redpath join the show to give us a breakdown of Big Sky basketball. Welcome back to Big Sky Tip-Off. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by two of our Big Sky basketball analysts, Krista Redpath and Coulter Nuanez. Guys, let's just get right to it. What were your initial thoughts on the Big Sky basketball preseason rankings? Coulter, I'll go to you first.
It's interesting when you analyze the men's league because there's so few returners these last couple of years. That's sort of a symptom of where we're at in Division I college basketball. But the one school that has had returners two off seasons in a row has been Montana, and I think that's reflected when you look at the polls. Last year they returned 6 guys, which is an unheard of number for mid-major teams, and this year they have a couple stalwarts coming back, led by Brandon Whitney, who's going to be sort of an unprecedented 5th-year starter there at Montana.
I wasn't shocked on the women's side. I really expected NAU to come out on top when you look at the fact that they played in the conference championship the last 3 years. They return a nucleus of players led by preseason MVP Sophie Glancy and also Leah Beatty at the guard position. Returning both the Moran sisters, and you mix in a Taylor Feldman and a Sanaya Neverson. And I look at NAU just having that nucleus back, but also just a year of maturity under their belt. And so I wasn't shocked by that. I look at the Montana schools battling out, both Montana State and Montana. When you take a look at Montana State, they also were faced with injuries last year, but this year, with the transfer of Esmeralda Morales, as well as Lexi Deedon possibly coming back from this ACL, they're loaded. They're locked and loaded.
Montana State men have reached 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments after winning 3 Big Sky tournament titles. Who would be the dark horse on the men's side to maybe dethrone the Bobcats?
First of all, I thought it was interesting that Montana State got so much love in the preseason polls because they do lose a lot. Of course, they return Brian Garacki, they return Brandon Walker, but Robert Ford was the heart and soul of that team. So he's certainly going to be tough to replace. I actually probably would have said that Montana State would have been one of my dark horses if they weren't so highly rated in the preseason polls, but they got a whole bunch of respect in the preseason polls. One team that Krista and I actually previewed on our series Big Sky Hoops Hits 2 weeks ago is Northern Arizona on the men's side. I think that they have more continuity than a lot of the other teams in the league. You look at Trenton McLaughlin, who's leading returning scorer in the league, really, really talented guy. You look at Carson Tout, he's my kind of player. I mean, he's the guy that could fit in on every single team in the Big Sky Conference. He doesn't need to shoot it. He doesn't need to dribble it. He just nets screens and rebounds and plays defense. Northern Arizona, I know, was picked in the middle of the league, but I think they could definitely make some noise. They proved it last year. I mean, they beat every good team in the league at least once. They just have to figure out a way to sweep some of those good teams to get into that top third of the league standings.
Coulter, you just brought up Trent McLaughlin from NAU. He, of course, is the preseason MVP in the Big Sky. Krista, you mentioned Sophie Clancy, the women's MVP. I'll start with you, Krista. Did the voters get it right choosing those 2 Lumberjacks as our preseason MVPs?
Well, I think they definitely did. When you look at these players and what they have contributed to the Big Sky, And of course, I can allude to Sophie Glancy just being a force down low. I mean, she was a unanimous first team All Big Sky Conference selection last year. Her physical skills, strength, agility, quickness around the basket, she really separated herself.
On the men's side, I think you could have got a variety of different ways, but Trent McLaughlin's certainly a worthy candidate, no doubt. It's a great story there at NAU too. First of all, they've poured a bunch of money into athletics, which I think is benefiting them a bunch. You've seen both their basketball programs get better, but also the McLaughlin brothers are one of the great stories in the Big Sky, right? Like Alex McLaughlin's one of the best football players in the conference. Trent, his older brother, one of the best basketball players in the conference. And you have to think that both those guys probably had opportunities to go elsewhere. They didn't because they're there together. That's a cool story. So hopefully that resonates with people.
Krista and Culture, we know NAU women, Montana and Montana State men are the favorites in both the coaches and the media polls to win the Big Sky Conference this year. Krista, I will go to you first. Who are you picking to win the Big Sky Conference? Give me both your men's and women's picks.
Well, I definitely had NAU to win, with the Montana schools really coming in hot. And on the men's side as well, I think Coach DeCure has done a fantastic job bringing in some really great transfers, but also building around Brandon Whitney. I mean, he's one of the only Grizz players to average double figures for all 4 of his years playing for Montana, just a veteran guard. I also think with the transfer of Patterson from Sac State at the guard position, Montana definitely has all the weapons to look like they are in the forefront to win the Big Sky.
I picked Montana State. And the reason I picked Montana State is I think that Tricia Binford has established herself as the most consistent and best coach in the conference. I thought last year was one of her best coaching jobs. I remember a post that they had on their Instagram page of their bench celebrating, and their bench was KJ Lamardo and Taylor Jansen and Lexi Deedon and all these all-league caliber players that were all hurt. And Tricia Binford got through that season, and they made a run at it. I mean, they were in the semifinals last year. They finished 4th, even though they had more injury bad luck than I've ever seen. You bring all that back, you bring in Esmeralda Morales, and I just think they have a chance to be a really special team. On the men's side, I voted for Montana just because they have the most returners, but I think it's so wide open with all these new players and so many new roster complexions throughout the league. We really just won't know. It's going to take till February until these teams really coalesce. They really start working the ball around and playing together. And look at what happened last year. I mean, Montana State was up and down all year long. But then they coalesced and they played so well down the stretch. And then they had one of the great tournament runs we have ever seen. So that's what it's going to take. Who comes together at the end? Who plays down the stretch? Travis DeCure has proven he can get his team to do that at Montana. Matt Logie, same thing at Montana State. And I think there's a couple other coaches like Eric Duft at Weber and Steve Smiley at Northern Colorado that have proven that as well. So who can get their team to come together? Even though I voted for Montana, I think the men's side is wide open.
Krista Coulter, less than 5 months, and we will see who is crowned a new champion up in Boise. Can't wait to see you both at that tournament. Still to come, what can fans expect from our championship week? Our friends from Visit Boise stopped by to share all the city has to offer.
Yeah, definitely. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.
All right. Thanks. All right. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Welcome back to Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off. I'm Megan Robinson. Our tournament is in Boise every year, so who better to have on the show than someone from Visit Boise, Lucas Gebhardt. The tournament has been in Boise since 2019. What impact does the Big Sky Basketball Tournament have on the city of Boise?
We think it's about a $6.5 million total economic impact to the city. And so that what we mean by that is all the hotel spending, all of the money that's spent at restaurants and shops and ticket sales and things like that. We think about 13,000 people or so go to the tournament. That includes local fans as well as fans that are traveling to Boise. And we think about 4,300 fans or so travel to Boise to watch this tournament from the various Big Sky markets. So it definitely has a huge impact for the city, and we're excited to have it once again in 25.
For those who have not been to Boise, like myself, what kinds of things can they expect to do there outside of the tournament?
The cool part about our tournament is all the fans can stay in our downtown hotels and be walking distance from the game. So if you fly, you don't have to rent a car. Our airport's 7 minutes. Our downtown is 7 minutes away from our airport. We have tons of great outdoor recreation activities. We have a 30-mile long bike trail that runs along our river, both sides of our river. We also have tons of hot springs that are within a couple hours drive of Boise. Some are under an hour from Boise. We have a great wine country that's about 45 minutes outside of downtown as well. So Idaho's got some really underrated wine that we definitely want people to check out if they end up coming here. We were rated by National Geographic as one of the best in the world destinations to visit in 2025. So that's something that we just got awarded. We're pretty excited about that. So we got lots of things to do here, whether it's our great restaurant scene or outdoor recreation or just the walkable and accessibility to all the things to do in our downtown.
One of the big things that people want to know when they go to a new city is, where are some of the restaurants that I must try?
Some of the best restaurants in town are some of our Basque restaurants. We have an entire block in our downtown that's dedicated to that Basque culture and that Basque heritage. We also have a restaurant in downtown called Kin that their chef just won a James Beard Award. That's the first James Beard Award that any restaurant or chef in our city has won. So that's something else that we're pretty excited about.
I can't wait to get up there and experience Boise in a few months for myself. And I appreciate you taking time to put a spotlight on your city.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for previewing the season with me on Big Sky Basketball Tip-Off presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. I'm your host, Megan Robinson, and I can't wait to see you all in Boise in March.